Good evening. Thank you all very much for coming. This meeting is open to the public and a warm welcome to you all. I'm Councillor Simon Clement-Jones and Chair of this local area committee. Before I ask other councillors to introduce themselves, I will hand over to the committee clerk, Diane Cooper, to read out the housekeeping arrangements.
Thank you, Chair. Before we start, there are just a few housekeeping arrangements to mention. Please can I request that mobile telephones and other such equipment are switched to silent mode so as not to disturb the conduct of the meeting. There is no fire test planned for today. If there is an emergency evacuation, please take instruction from the council staff present. The fire exits are out the main door that you came in, or that side door there, but bear in mind that side door's got steps. The toilet facilities are just out that first set of doors, and then to the left as you go out, and there's a disabled toilet right
I'm Diane, the Council Player Committee Manager.
Yeah, testing. I don't know, can you hear me okay on this one? Do you want to stand back there and see what it sounds on me? I mean, the problem is that then you don't get any sound for the recording. Does this work? If I stand up, is that better? Okay, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask everyone to stand up when they speak. Okay, so we've done the introductions. I've all got the names of presidents, so we'll know who to. Before we continue with you, I'd like to explain how the meeting will work. So with formal business first, ceremony apologies, declarations, and minutes from the last meeting. We'll then have some time for any public questions or petitions. Tracey, and Inspector Laurie. Development at Sheffield. There will also be time for public questions and discussion around those. So if you have a question around any of those themes, do give your pound a drive at the end of those presentations. Can I ask if there are any apologies for absence?
I've had apologies from Blackton Diamond, Maroof Road, Nigat Basharat and Sophie Thornton.
There are no answers require the exclusion of the press and public. Can I ask if any members wish to declare an interest in any of the items or business on the agenda? Thank you. We'll then move on to the minutes of the previous meeting. Can I ask members to approve it as a correct record or any amendments required? Thank you very much. Okay, so we have not received any public questions in advance. If you do feel like you want to ask a question at the local area committee, obviously you should get a much fuller answer if you can give us some notice. The official, I think, guidance is 2 days in advance. Obviously, if you want to scribble something down on the night and let us know in advance, that's very helpful. As I say, there will be other questions for opportunities tonight, so I will kind of bring this to a close. We do have 4 other presentations to get through, along with questions. So hopefully we can hurry through this, but obviously we will try and get you a full answer as we can, get to as many people in the time available. If you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand and we'll take questions in order. When you ask the questions, where we ask people to take the questions, we'll take the microphone around. Okay, so we have a microphone that will be being sent round. Please clearly state your name and which area you are from, and obviously, if you don't, if you can give your details to a member of staff, then obviously that helps us to keep you informed as to what's going on. As I say, if we're unable to answer any questions on the night, we'll provide a written response, in which case, so please do leave us with your contact details. So, anybody like to ask a question? Sorry, you, sir. I've got 1, 2.
Does it work?
You should do.
Can you hear me? It's a question I wanted to ask about. It was brought up at the last meeting. Oh, by the way, Dave Hannon from the Daily Time. It was brought up at the last meeting about some lights on the estate. We had numerous occasions where cars were being stolen, number plates dumped in the bushes. There was talk of a MOCAM being put on the estate, but it was considered that there was not enough lighting on the estate, and it would be left. They would have people to come to see us to talk about it, and as such since the last meeting, there's nobody been to see us. Nobody's talked about it, and it's just been put off. Now, can anybody enlighten me as to what's happening here? We do need some lights on the estate.
Great. Can I ask where you were? Sorry. Can I ask where was it you were talking about the MOCAM and the lighting? Who it was with? Who was it you were talking to about the MOCAM and the lighting? Was this after the meeting or during the meeting? Okay. Okay, and this is the police. This is the police.
Not exactly the police, no.
Okay. I mean, certainly, obviously, I don't know anything about it right now, but what we'll do is look into it, get back to you and find out what's happening. I don't know if local members have any knowledge on this. Okay, apologies, I can't give you a fuller answer than that, but we will make sure to look into it and get back to you. Absolutely. Okay, so we'll look into it, find out what we can, and so let you know. Thank you very much. Oh, okay, great, thank you. Thank you. This gentleman here, and then there's a lady behind, I think, had a question. Sorry, it was this gentleman here and the lady behind.
It's not done there, right? Can I just say that my colleague and I are both here from the Bannercross Neighbourhood group representing them. I'm the secretary, my colleague is the vice chair. I'd just like to preface my comment with saying thank you very much to those members who had anything at all to do with our campaign to get Archer Lane reopened. We are extremely grateful for that. There are two things that come out of it. At the end of the committee meeting, where the decision was taken to reopen Archer Lane, the senior officer said that they would need to go on monitoring the traffic flows around that area, which made one or two of us, I think, afterwards wonder why, and want to say that if that is to be the case, that they do need to monitor traffic movement flows around Archer Lane on Brinkley Edge Road, that shouldn't be the end of it. They should also be monitoring traffic flows in the whole area, because we know from the report that they published that it contained a great deal of flawed data simply because they'd failed to do precisely that, monitor outside the area. So that's my first question about monitoring the traffic flows, why they're needing to do it. The second is that the committee meeting was on the 20th of September. The road is to be reopened on the 24th of October. That's the last legal date that it could stay closed. And that means it will be 5 weeks between the committee decision and the reopening of Archer Lane. And the simple question is, does it really take 5 weeks to open a road? A number of us have written asking that simple question and received some very dubious responses to it. And it's been suggested by more than one, including myself, that is this got anything to do with the way the Transport Department is known to behave? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your questions. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you on why the monitoring, and also the reason for the 5 weeks. Again, I don't know if any members of the panel can enlighten me. No. So, as I say, I'm afraid we'll have to get back to you on that. But we will absolutely get you a response. Thank you very much. You have the next question.
Hi, I live 2 streets behind the London Road, and I am concerned about the rat problem in the area. And thank you very much.
Right, Councillor would like to address this. Thank you.
If I understood it correctly, are you referring to the rats problem on London Road? Okay. When I was elected in May, I was aware that the London Road has issues with litter, vermin problems. I contacted several departments to come out, head of departments to go have a walk around London Road. We've made sure that London Road gets cleaned twice a day, as it's supposed to. Since then, it has improved. Number of commercial bins have been removed. If the problem is still persisting, something that I can perhaps take on individually as a ward councillor for the area. Thank you.
Cracking, thank you very much. As I say, we'll get your details and make sure that we can get some answers. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have a question? Go for it then.
Concerns people parking on pavement on the estate where I live. Person concerned parked his car on pavement and completely blocked it. There is no other alternative pavement where we can cross over and go to. It's either stepping out into the road with a wheelchair. There's a lot of old folks live on that estate. It would be stepping on a high pavement, there's no low pavement. Stepping up onto the road, if any cars are coming, I don't know what will happen. Now this person seems to think it's his own private parking spot, and it isn't. So I had occasion to go to the estate services. They couldn't do anything. I got through finally to the parking services. They said, are there any double yellow lines? That's another question for it. Are there any double yellow lines? No. You can't do anything about it. If there's double yellow lines, you can come down and ticket it. But no double yellow lines, you'll need police. This is another question. I phoned 101, which was quite decent with it. For a minute, finally got through to Sheffield Police, who said, I'll put you through to the appropriate department. That was only about a minute. When they answered, she said it would be a half-hour's wait before anybody can get there. And that is absolutely ridiculous. A half-hour wait, which you were very upset about, and slammed over. And to me, this 101 service is just a joke at the moment. You cannot get through to it. And I finally give up the ghost. Going back to the double yellow lines, can you direct me to anybody who can see to it that somebody can come down and inspect it, and I can possibly get some yellow lines put down. There's also, I don't go in on it, some parking, well not parking spaces, but spaces for emergency vehicles, although there is no markings on the spot where the emergency vehicle stop for these flats. But people seem to think it's their private parking place, and it isn't. It's for emergency vehicles. Ever since the estate was built, and I've been there since it was built, so I know that that's what it's for. And I wondered if we could have any letters, emergency vehicles only, on these slots.
In relation to the matters on the estate, personally I think that next time you have a meeting of the tenants and residents, I think absolutely one of us would generally try and attend. even 3 penalty points, a letter, a fixed penalty notice. There is a rumour that that might be extended, and that might be extended to more of Sheffield. It's perfectly true. With yellow lines generally apply from wall to wall, so they include the pavement and the grass verges, and that means the council can enforce that. I feel this is going to be on news headlines or something. I'm going to have to bang a bomb or something like that. Anyway, they apply from wall to wall generally. There's a few exceptions, but not many. So the council can ticket somebody during the period of the restriction. So if it's double yellow lines, council can issue a ticket. Parking services will generally respond to hotspot issues, although they give priority at certain times of the day to like bus lanes and schools. But they'll generally attend to that. Otherwise, as you were told, Lynn, it's a police matter. Now, honestly, for a parking offence of obstruction, I might be getting it wrong here, but I think half an hour to respond is pretty good. It must have been a slow day for other things. So at least the police were willing to respond, and I think you will respond to a serious obstruction of the pavement if you can. But there are things about the council extending its powers as well to deal with certain offences on the highway. But if you're contacting 101 and call this an admission of failure, although the phone service has been improving, it can be a long wait. If you do have online access, go to 101 online, put it into your search engine, and you can fill in a little form. And you can do that at your leisure. You can do it any time of the day or night, and that will be picked up by the police, the local neighbourhood team, just as well as hanging on that telephone and for somebody to take your details. I believe that's right, but the inspector will be able to put it right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I can. Sorry.
What about this experiment?
Thank you. Councillor Elliott.
With all about it. Yeah. The mic. Yeah. But further away. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for your question. It's really important to raise this, and I don't have any immediate answers. You know, I find the system as frustrating as you, but I also, like Councillor Orford, wanted to raise what's it called? Park Safe, which has been carried out, like the inspector said, in the northwest. And my understanding is that it's been carried out there because it was raised as a major issue that people thought that, you know, tackling dangerous parking was really high in their list of priorities. So my understanding is that members of the public, you know, when they're walking on the pavement and the car's obstructing the pavement and they can't get past or something like that, they can take a photo and they can report it and it will get acted on. So I would say for everyone just to push for that to happen here, contact your councillors, contact the council officers, contact the police and let them know this is a really high priority for this area as well, and then hopefully we can be included in the scheme.
Thank you. I've got a question at the back, and then you.
At Warminster Road, there is persistently a van parked obstructing all view onto Warminster Road. It's lethal. I hope the police officers here will go and have a look. It's regularly there. I don't drive, but I know anyone that drives are really, really concerned about this van. So I would ask that that is looked into. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then I've got you next.
Right. First of all, can I just say I would love to have park safe in our area as well. I think this is a fantastic idea, and the sooner it can come, the better. My question concerns a lady who lives down my road, at Sheldon Road. She has really bad arthritis, so she bought herself a mobility scooter so that she could go and visit her friends, go to the shops, basically still live in the world with this really bad arthritis. She cannot use her mobility scooter because she cannot get down the pavement on Sheldon Road. Now, I understand that it's going to be March by the time that we actually have plans for what to do with those pavements. But I've also heard that that it's likely that it will not even be next year that we get the pavements done, but the following year. And I would like to urge, particularly there are two councillors who are not here, but I hope this will get to them, who are on the relevant committee. I would urge them to make sure that Sheldon Road is treated as a priority. Certainly for this woman, it is. It affects the whole of her life, and not just her, other people as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I mean, I'm not sure there's a specific question that we can give you an answer to today, but obviously we can pass that on to the councillors that you mentioned. Do we have any further questions? Oh, okay. So we're now going to... Ask what?
Get them on the screen if they want to ask a question. Do the microphone.
Oh, right. Yeah, hi. I believe there's somebody online who'd like to ask a question.
I wanted to respond to the gentleman's question who spoke first, but I was hoping that there might be other questions following that, so we have a bit more of a balance. But seeing as there weren't any and he didn't get an answer, I just wondered if I could say something on the Archer Lane closure. Well, I do, yeah. Thank you. I just wanted to say that I'm really disappointed that people are so desperate to get those safety measures removed that they're asking about 5 weeks being too long. I mean, I just wanted to read out a letter that all councillors have received today from a teacher at Mercia School, which is one of the many schools really near the Archer Lane filter. And it says, "Dear Councillor, it's with great disappointment that I've seen the Archer Lane will be reopening next week. I'm a teacher at Mercia School and a resident of Edgedale Road, and I've witnessed the positive change to the neighbourhood that this road closure brought. When Archer Lane was open, I witnessed every day approximately 200 to 300 pupils at Mercia School who walk along Archer Lane, struggling to cross Annandale Road due to the constant flow of speeding cars racing down Archer Lane. This junction is extremely wide, and commuters at this time are speeding. It's not possible to cross unless the driver gives way to children, and very few do. This is very dangerous for our children. Since the road has been closed, it's much easier for them to cross the junction safely. They've gotten used to walking up the road along Archer Lane and often playing in the street. They'll be especially vulnerable this week when it reopens. The decision to reopen the road prioritises shaving a few minutes of the commuting time of people who are trying to avoid Abbeydale Road and use our community as a rat run. It prioritises them over the safety of our pupils and the neighbourhood children. It makes a mockery of any green commitment to getting people out of their cars and using other modes of transport or maintaining air quality in our neighbourhood. The councillor quoted in the press talked about some people's negative attitudes towards the closure. These people may be vocal about their right to drive as fast as they want and wherever they please, but our children don't have a voice, and they don't choose to spend their time ranting about traffic issues on Facebook. I'm extremely disappointed by this decision, and I wanted you to know it will endanger children in our neighbourhood. And that's from a teacher at Mercia School.
Thank you. I will now hand over to Diane Owens to give an update on the South Local Area Committee Budget 2023-24.
Thank you, Chair. Hopefully, if I sit this far back, it will be okay, but do give me a wave if you can't hear me okay. So, it's quite a busy agenda tonight, so I'll just be fairly brief. So there's a report in your pack which gives an overview of the South LAC budget for 2023 to 2024. And the report is asking the committee to endorse a number of recommendations this evening. So one of them is to approve the updated South LAC Community Plan. So we've made a couple of changes to the South LAC Community Plan. One around the cost of living, to support people with over cost of living. And the other addition is around support for local business districts. And I think that might become apparent as I kind of go through this report as to why that's kind of come up as a priority. So there's a recommendation to approve the community plan. There's also a recommendation around approving the LAC budget. So each local area committee has been allocated £100,000 budget for the year to use against the priorities in their plan. And the proposal is to allocate that based on £25,000 per ward, so per the 4 wards in the South LAC. There's some outlined expenditure in the report, against the community plan priorities, and that's outlined on page 5. So there's a small amount of proposed expenditure there, and across page 6 as well. So there's a couple of areas of small projects which have been agreed and approved already. So we do have So the committee does have a devolved power to approve projects under £5,000 outside of the public meeting. So across page 5 and 6 you'll see some smaller projects which have been approved outside of the meeting. So if I just briefly then take you through the other priorities in the report are around allocation of some further budget and further spend, so some spend over the £5,000, and also each local area committee has been allocated a budget to support the cost of living. So for the South Local Area Committee, that is £59,610, and the report outlines some proposed options in terms of that spend. And so this evening we need the committee to make a decision with regards to that budget in terms of how they want to allocate that. So if I go just on to kind of page 4 really of the report, as I say, the intention is to treat the £100,000 budget as 4 ward budgets of £25,000, so that's a proposal to be agreed, and then some specific spend in relation to that. So the Graves Park ward would like to allocate their £25,000 against the theme of employment, skills and business. So the proposal is to allocate the full budget of £25,000 to the This Is Woodseats project. So this was a project that was brought together by local businesses and community representatives in Woodseats as actually to make a submission to the Economic Recovery Fund Round 2. So anyone who came to our meeting earlier this year the meeting that we held, I'm trying to think where we were in Low Edges, and we had someone actually come. We had Dan, who's with us tonight, and talked to us about the Economic Recovery Fund. So a group of businesses in Woodseat did actually get together to put in a bid for that funding. They put in a bid for £200,000. Unfortunately, the bid was not successful. It was a very, very competitive funding round. So the Grace Park board members would like to allocate their £25,000 budget to enable some elements of that project to still go ahead. Things like potentially some benches and some flower planting and some hanging baskets. So some public realm improvements around the Woodseat shopping area. But the full details of that project would be worked up working alongside the This Is Woodseat group. So that's there as a specific recommendation. Then just still on the same page, page 4, under the community plan priority communities, BT Green Hill members have made some decisions in terms of funding small-scale projects, so they're outlined across into page 5, and there's some small projects, as I say, under that £5,000 threshold. So on page 5 you can see a bit of a summary in terms of what that means for the overall budget. So that means BT from Green Hill have a budget of 21,300 remaining, Clevis Valley 25,000, Grace Park, if this recommendation is approved, would have a budget of 0, and Never Edge and Sharrow a budget of 25,000. There's also some small areas of spend outlined on page 6 with regards to a small underspend that the committee has. We have an underspend from last year of 11,250, and there's some small proposals there in terms of reallocating that. So I won't go through them in detail, but they're outlined there in the report. The last thing just to touch on, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I will. Yeah, sorry. I'm just so conscious of the time. Yeah. Okay. I'll try. Yeah, okay. So the last thing to talk about is just the cost of living budget. So this goes across page 5 and 6 of the report. So a total budget of £400,000 has been allocated to distribute to the local area committees to support with the cost of living. So for the South Local Area Committee, that means a budget of £59,600. So linked to this, the committee have had some conversations with our local food banks and some of our local voluntary community sector organisations to talk to them and get their input really in terms of how they think that money could be best spent in the area, recognising it's a modest budget, but we wanted to kind of bring people together and say how could we best spend this money, what do you need? And some of the feedback from those conversations is included in the report on page 6. But the main things that people talked to us about were the key issues around heating, clothing, food, transport, a lot of feedback around finance and benefits support, so a real need for advice and support for people, and there was quite a lot of conversations around that need to be in-person support, face-to-face support that really unpicks the challenges that people are having and tries to help, to help people find solutions. And also around income maximisation. So we had a lot of conversations around people saying people need support around income maximisation and around budgeting. So we had some really, really useful feedback from those conversations, and the committee obviously have kind of taken those, I think, on board in terms of consideration. So the ask to the committee tonight really is to make a decision in terms of the budget that they've been allocated around the cost of living, and the paper, the report does outline some possible options there which have kind of come through those conversations that we had with organisations and local food banks, and there's some other proposals outlined there in the paper. So really the report is asking the members to endorse the recommendations that are made, including the allocation of the £25,000 to the This Is Woodseat project, and to make a decision in terms of the cost of living budget that has been allocated to the South Local Area Committee. Thank you.
Do we have any questions from the members of the public on this? No. Okay. Councillor Hendry.
Thank you, Chair. What I'd like... Sorry. Thank you so much, Chair, for that. I'd like to thank the Woodseat project for the effort that they actually put in for the Economic Recovery Fund monies. And unfortunately, we requested 200,000, but they were actually turned down for even a penny of that. So whatever this is, 25,000 that we're allocating to it, is a very small sum. And I must admit, I feel embarrassed stood here just saying that £25,000 is going towards the project. But what I do want to commit and do want on record here is that we will continue to support you we will continue to work with you to bring forward a larger sum, because I know you're struggling. Although the shops are open, people are struggling, retail is struggling, and I take my hat off to the fact that these traders continue to trade as they do, but without any support from the City Council at this stage. So I'm to the next few years, and there are some of the traders who are actually here. So sorry for not getting the 200,000, but let's start from the 25.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott?
Thank you. I just wanted to mention the cost of living dedicated post for anyone who's read the agenda. It's at page 24, 25. I think, all members here are really proud of this pilot, and thank you to the lab managers for getting it started, because when we found out we had some money to spend specifically on cost of living, we thought, well, let's go and talk to those who were dealing with the impact of the cost of living on the ground. So the lab manager set up some meetings, and we went and spoke to the voluntary sector and the food banks, and it was really coming back from them that what would be most useful would be more advice workers in their in their community centres where people are coming anyway, and then that helps people deal with their immediate issues, but also improves people's outcomes in the long term. So we came away and decided, well, that is what we would use the money for. So we are putting someone in a new post to go out to those community centres to give people help where it's needed most. So really, if there are any community groups here, just let me know if you would like an advice worker to come to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Any other colleagues wish to comment? Obviously, from me, obviously, thanks to the VCF and the food banks who kind of helped us kind of craft what we did with this. They did talk a lot about income maximisation. The other ask was cash, which is always welcome when you're doing with those in need, because it just gives you that flexibility to provide the help that they need without politicians or anyone telling them what to do with it. Colleagues, we do have some work to do on this, so we do need to approve the updated plan and agree the use of the 25 per ward, note the current expenditure and the reallocation of the carry forward. Obviously, we're voting also on the proposal that we have around the cost of living. We haven't got a full decision within this. We do need to formally also agree to split the balance of the cost of living between the three main food banks within the South Local Area Committee area. So if I could just ask colleagues to show by show of hands that we all agree that. Thank you all very much indeed.
Sorry, Chair, can I just clarify then, just so I'm kind of clear then. So with the cost of living, the endorsement then is for the full-time worker, the 12-month post, the dedicated cost of living worker, and then you said is it some funding for the funding for the food bank that's proposed in the report, and for the balance, and then there's a £5,000 proposal to support the two community development workers in the area. Is that the?
Indeed.
Yeah, just to check. Thank you very much.
No problem.
And we'll see. Yeah, sorry, in the 25,000. Yeah.
So, we do need to make sure it's all official. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 8, which is local transport priorities. I've got Tracey, Hendry, Road Safety Manager. She's going to give us an update on local transport priorities. Again, questions at the end.
You might have to stand up.
So, yeah, I think male voices seem to be worse than that.
Hi everyone, thanks very much for having me along today. I don't often get to have a middle seat like this. Usually I'm off to the side. This is nice, if a little daunting. So yeah, I'm the road safety manager for Sheffield Transport Department. So my remit, my team work on things like school streets, education, going in and out of schools, educating children on the key subjects of keeping safe. We do engineering projects, local safety schemes, small projects for signing and lining. What else do we do? We cover quite a broad range of stuff. My colleagues, counterparts in the department do other project work that have been mentioned tonight, as well as policy. So for today, I've spoke to my colleagues to gather a bit of information what each of our teams are working on to give you a bit of a broad, high-level overview of some of the schemes that you'll be seeing implemented within this area. Very big, this one. So like I said, my bread and butter is pretty much education, engineering, and then working with our partners on enforcement, whether that be parking services and police, emergency services and such. We do try to get to as many schools as possible across Sheffield. In South Yorkshire we have managed to get to quite a few. We are working on getting to more and increasing our capacity within our education team. At the minute there is just 3 members there, and we're looking at different ways in which we can expand our capacity digitally as well. So although we've only got so many boots on the ground, we're looking at more up-to-date ways of engaging with kids to try and help them keep safe and give them the skills. And as well as working with kids, working with schools, providing maybe with education packages, and working with parents as well, just to make them aware of the dangers and how to help keep everyone safe, basically. We have school streets. We've got 2 in the south. We've got Ansgrove, another edge, and that's to be made permanent on the last update that I got. Wood Seats, we're on a bit of a delay on that one. I'll need to speak with my colleague to determine why we're on a delay. Sometimes school streets can be a little tricky to, I suppose, to keep someone on the gates at the start and end of school time, so we're looking at ways to make that easier so more schools can get school streets implemented. We've also got a project underway for on-street residential electrical charging points. This is a trial. It's sort of a slow rollout. We've got 9 locations across the city. We've tried to get 1 in each LAC, which we've managed to do. Each charging point is double-headed, so there's the vehicles that can be charged from that. And in the south, that will be Slate Street, where it meets Middle Hill Road, and we'll be doing a consultation to update everybody. Letters will be going out if they're not already there. Sorry, I thought it might be a bit bigger, but I can circulate this information after if anyone really wants to read it in a bit more detail. So we do also work on things like pedestrian crossings. We've allocated some budget for that, and we're working with the LACs, local area committees, to put some ped enhancements in and some pedestrian crossings in. So we continue to work. I've listed the works that are happening currently. So we've got a few pedestrian crossings there. Some of the, I think it was mentioned earlier, some of the works are due to commence until 2024-25, and that's just because the time that we get the TROs in for consultation, the time we get works through, the time that we do the feasibility, it just takes time. With the capacity that we've got and the team that we've got, it just takes a bit of time. So these are the pedestrian crossings and enhancements are if I need one, so sometimes not. You know, being able to allocate this, so just making sure that you can. This is a nightmare, isn't it? Breaking up around a Scottish accent. We've got some going in Norton Leys, Cardinal Bowl, Hardens are due to commence in June, and Brinkcliffe and Netheredge, Sharrow are looking to be consulted on in late 23 and early spring 24. I'll go through it. Again, we've tried to make sure that we're covering a lot of different lands because we do work Sheffield wide, and we try and work our worst across the got all of them in Neighbourhood, so you can see we're busy getting a lot of stuff in. Going on Oak Street, Norton Lane, and Harvey Road. We're also working with the LACs to get Norton Church, Hemsworth Road, and It's like everything on the ground. The there with best how we can how we progress with that scheme. We'll see, but we have outlined what we're going to be doing for the next few years. We've got enough to keep going for years yet, but I'll take your note. I'll take your point.
Thank you. Got this gentleman here, and then you, and then.
Sorry.
It's 20 miles an hour away outside the court on Derbyshire Lane. between where I was on, only partly on this road and partly down to it.
Right.
It keeps up the storm. So 20 miles an hour before the storm, after the storm. So, do you know anything about it?
I'm trying to search my brain, but there's nothing coming up at the minute. That doesn't mean that I'll inquire about it and look into it. Yeah. Yeah, I'll look into it and flag it with our team. We do deliver education, and we're looking to assess. We'll look at school cross patrol wording as well, and I'll have a look into it when we get back. Yeah.
I'm sure. So I do have two other questioners, and it's specifically on.
So Norton Leeds is being done, even as we speak.
The letters have gone out.
They're actually putting the 20 mile an hour signs up.
Or are they?
Yeah, to start.
Yeah, they've gone out.
Well, that's good.
No, I'm back in my brain. I thought it included. So Warminster and Emsworth Road are not on the 20 mile an hour limit because there's a criteria and they don't meet it for a 20 mile an hour zone. But I thought there was an advisory outside Mundella School. Exactly as you say, Glenn, a 20 mile an hour limit just by the school.
Right. I'm not
No,
I need to
believe
look
that.
into it.
Yes, I think that's
Okay.
So before we can reduce the speed limit to 20, we need to do a bit of exercise on average speed, and we can't reduce generally our road until we've done that, and we wouldn't put it on for that reason. Well, for one of those reasons, we put it on for safety reasons. It should impact journey time that much, if anything. So we've looked at doing similar things on faster roads as well, and it doesn't have that much impact, so it should be okay. It will be okay.
Okay, thank you. And the last question?
How does a group like ours manage to have a one-to-one meeting with you? Because things and reg are like a long racing track. But also, the main thing is, for a long time, we've been wanting to talk to somebody, yourself or colleagues, about some double yellow lines around the area.
Can everybody hear me? I'm going to sit, that's all right. So, we'll get going. There we go. So we'll just do some quick introductions for those of you that don't know us. So my name's Sally Smith. I am the Safe and Neighbourhood Co-ordinator for the South West. I'm employed by Sheffield City Council, but I'm based in Woodseat Police Station. So I work alongside the neighbourhood policing team to tackle the key areas of the South and South West that pose the most threat, harm and risk.
I'm Inspector Laurie Millington. I cover the South West Sheffield, or the South Yorkshire Police.
We've also got
introduce yourself over there, Liz.
We've got Sergeant Liz Williams, so she's new to the neighbourhood policing team, covering sort of like the Gleadless side of things. So for those of you that knew Chris Lukins, he's gone now, and we've got Liz. So give us a wave. So just in terms of like the neighbourhood policing team, it's made up of 2 police sergeants, so Liz being one of them and Sergeant Clack being the other. We've got 8 police constables and then 4 police community support officers. That is due to change, I think, pretty soon. There's going to be some more PCSOs coming in. Is it more towards the end of the year?
Yeah, from sort of late October, we've got 6 more PCSOs joining the team. However, they've still got training to do, so by the time they'll be implemented, it'll be late next year when we've like fully staffed up. So we're up to the numbers of 10, which we can then split and cover the areas more effectively. So we will have 10 by the end of the month, but they're still under training, so and being tutored by the 4 PCSOs that we've got for the area.
Yeah, so just in terms of those areas then, so this neighbourhood policing team covers Nether Edge, Sharrow, Gleadless Valley, Low Edges, Jordan Thorpe, Beef, Greenhill and Graves Park. So just a little bit more about my job then. So I'd say about 50-60% of my job is running what we call the Neighbourhood Action Group meetings. They are subject to change. They're going to be changing to crime and vulnerability meetings, but currently they're called Neighbourhood Action Groups, or as everybody calls them, NAG meetings. These meetings are held in areas that exhibit the most threat, harm and risk. So currently I have 3 meetings that I chair. We have 1 in Sharrow, Aberdale and Nether Edge. We have 1 in Low Edges, Batemore and Jordan Thorpe, and then we also have 1 in Gleadless Valley. The meetings are split into 2 parts, Part A and Part B. In Part A, we discuss sort of like localised crime and vulnerability issues, partners such as like local councillors, TARA representatives. We also have like community-based groups such as like Grace Food Bank that can come along to those parts and discuss any like community-based threat, harm and risk issues. And then in Part B, we actually discuss individual nominals of concern that are involved in criminal behaviour, antisocial behaviour and things like organised crime. Only partners who are signed up to the correct data sharing agreements can attend Part A, so unfortunately that doesn't include councillors and TARAs, but it does include myself, the police, housing, local schools, etc. These items on these pages, this is not an extensive list, the list could go on and on and on, but we would be here for hours, so I won't drag it out. So just in Sharrow, Nether Edge and Aberdale, the work that's being done, disrupting organised crime, we do a lot of work alongside housing to support vulnerable tenants. The Neighbourhood Action Group meetings that I mentioned, we have those every 4 weeks in Sharrow, Aberdale and Nether Edge. We also have regular discussions with housing and other partners around specific addresses and specific nominals that are known to South Yorkshire Police and to housing. We're working at the moment with key partners around the dark night period to eliminate issues that have occurred in that area in the past. I know it's been quite a target for antisocial behaviour and crime around the dark nights period, so we're working alongside Sharrow Community Forums, do a lot of work with them around their carnival. And we also work in partnership with South Yorkshire Police's Fortify team, so they do specific targeted work around organised crime and county lines. And then for Low Edges, Batemore and Jordan Thorpe, we again do a lot of work with housing to support vulnerable tenants. In that area we have the Neighbourhood Action Group meetings every 8 weeks. We have regular discussions with housing and other partners, again around specific addresses and nominals that are known to South Yorkshire Police and to housing. There's been problem-orientated policing or POP plans in the area to focus on vehicle crime, burglaries and off-road bikes, and we've introduced a new sergeant to the team and implementing new ways of working to tackle ongoing issues. And then for Gleedless Valley, again, the Neighbourhood Action Group meetings, they're held every 6 weeks. Another problem-orientated policing plan has been created for Newfield Green shops, and there was some targeted work around the sale of alcohol in that area and how that's kind of seen a rise in antisocial behaviour. There's been operations that have taken place in the area to look at theft of motor vehicles across the valley. We also work closely with the Gleedless Valley Master Plan team around the redevelopment of the area and the links that might have to crime and antisocial behaviour. Again, introduced a new sergeant to the area, so Liz covers Low Edges, Bakemore, Johnsthorpe and the Gleedless area. And we've also attended the Gleedless Valley partnership meetings, and we make links within the local community so that they know who we are, we know who they are, and you know, such as like the PCSOs can go to their local groups and attend their coffee mornings and get to know people in the community. There we go. So just some other examples of some partnership working that we've done. So we've attended public meetings such as this to discuss key issues in specific areas. We've met with the LAC to discuss joined up work around getting some MOCAMs put up in the area. We've helped with assisting community groups to get funding for dark night provisions. Linked in with local authority antisocial behaviour team to seek legal action against perpetrators of antisocial behaviour. We've attended Neighbourhood Watch meetings, and we've also completed days of action with housing to conduct visits thought to be, like to addresses that are thought to be involved in crime and antisocial behaviour, but also to go and help those people that might be a bit more vulnerable. So, just in terms of reporting, I have taken this from South Yorkshire Police's website, every single point. Yes, you can contact them by calling 999 or 101. As I mentioned earlier, there is a 101 service online, which is a lot because I'm waiting for the way. Thinking about when there's a threat to life, when there's been violence towards a person or damage to a property, where there's a serious offence that's actually in progress. A suspected offender is still at the scene of the crime, so you can see all those there on the left. And then in terms of 101, so you use the 101 service to report a crime that's not currently taking place and the offender is no longer in prison. When you call in to make like more routine inquiry, to make an appointment, if you want to make an appointment to come visit somebody at the South Yorkshire Police, you can use the 101 service for that. At the bottom then, you can just find this by in Google and it can come up. I promote this massively to everybody that attends like neighbourhood action groups or any other meetings that I go to, because where people are more fearful of making reports, which is what we hear quite a lot, if you report through Crime Stoppers, they can guarantee it is 100% anonymous. No one will ever know it's you, not even the people at the other end of the phone or not even the people at the other end of the form that are picking it up will ever know that it's you. They can't track any hyperlinks or anything like that. So if you're that fearful of making reports and you're worried about any repercussions, please use Crime Stoppers. If you want any more information about Crime Stoppers, please just type it in Google. It's the first thing that comes up. It's really useful. And then just in terms of reporting to Sheffield City Council, I know there's sometimes a bit, again, waiting on the phone trying to speak to the call centre can be quite difficult. So there's two different ways of reporting antisocial behaviour to the council. You can, if you are a council resident, it's the bottom email, I think I haven't got like a light or anything, but it's the bottom email address that starts with tenancy enforcement. If you are a non-council resident, but
and Liberal members on that.
Yeah, I think first of all I'd have to look at the figures to say that actually crime did decrease as a result of it being opened, but it is definitely something that we could look into. Obviously the decision for it being made open is not one that's been consulted with. However, it is something that I'm happy to keep an eye on and review the crime statistics as to where they were before, where they are now, and where they are in a few weeks' time once it's been opened, and something that I can report back on.
But you know basic criminology tells you that crime is based on opportunity. So you're saying you'll monitor it, but I'm asking from the officer or from the councillors what they think is going to happen. And the question, particularly in the political debate about local
same opportunity. Chair, answer to the gentleman's question is that I'm not a crime expert. I can't forecast what crimes are going to happen in a few months' time, a few years' time. I don't think the police can either. So I don't know, it will increase or decrease, but I've had a representation from a resident who lives 50 metres away from Archer Lane. He has reported that due to closure of Archer Lane, he has seen increased antisocial behaviour on Archer Lane. He thinks, in his view, that reopening of Archer Lane would decrease crime. But we will know in a few years' time. I'm sure the police will keep close statistics of the crime activity in the area. Thank you.
Right, I live near Archer Lane, and I take my my grandchild to the Scouts there. But I welcome the decision to open up that particular route. I would disagree that it's a rat run, and I would say that it joins communities. Now, we've just had that presentation on road safety, and I was concerned about limit on there. You could have a proper crossing on there, and they could educate, to do some sort of educational lessons on there. So I think this particular issue can actually be resolved for both parties. You could, for all of the people, it could make it safe. Now, just one final point. As I was walking my grandchild down that particular road, I was nearly knocked over by a bicycle. Now, the lady was, she got that she nearly knocked me down. But, it may have been actually my fault, because I wasn't thinking that there was going to be any traffic on there. But of course, people do use it, and they can still use it safely. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you. Sorry.
I just find the need to say we're finding that the officer's report is being used in argument, and I need to intervene on this. The data contained in that report was highly suspect on many, many issues, traffic flows, crime rates and everything. That silver-haired little lady that was sitting there, who's now left, is actually a professional statistician. She's a member of the Royal Statistical Society, and she wrote a paper on the officer's report, and she showed that it hides more than it actually reveals. Don't take anything in that report as being true. It was biased, it was badly put together. The whole management of the data collection of it was extremely suspect.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm from the Youth Voice and Influence team at the Council, and I just wanted to say a huge thank you for the work that the police are doing with young people. So across Sheffield, we've got a young kind of advisory group for young people with the police, and they've done some excellent work, and we just really appreciate it. And if there's any opportunities for more young people from the south, especially
Sally, thank you. Something I've raised before with you, given that we are a few weeks away from the fireworks season, and every year on Abbey Road we face a lot of antisocial behaviour due to misuse of fireworks. I was wondering if there are any plans in place to minimise the... Yes.
Okay. Right. So, thank you, Chair. Thank you, everyone. Nice to be here this evening. So, a little bit of a different topic now from what we've been talking about to date. So, I'm here to talk about the work that has been going on right across the city over the last 6 to 9 months, really, to begin to develop a set of what we are calling city goals for Sheffield. And yeah, these slides are quite hard to see, and I'm really sorry about that, so we will make sure that we send these round afterwards for anybody who wants to delve into the information in a little bit more detail. But what we are trying to do through this process is to set a direction for the whole of the city of Sheffield for the next 10, 15, 20 years. So this isn't about the council saying what's important to us as a city. This is about everyone who lives in the city, all of the big organisations, so the universities, the council, the police, the NHS, smaller organisations who might work at a community level, everybody coming together to have their say about what is important for Sheffield and where we want to collectively be going as a city. So the idea is that through this piece of work we begin to develop a really clear long-term plan for the city, something that everybody can stand behind. Everybody's had a bit of a hand in helping to shape, and that we're all confident about where we want to go as a city. And by doing this, the hope is that we can begin to align our resources, our capacity, our money right across the city, local groups, citywide groups, to collectively work towards and begin to deliver on these goals that we are developing. And in turn, we hope that that will drive real improvement for the city. It will help us to bring more money in from government, from funding bodies, and from investors. That's what we're trying to achieve. So what have we been doing so far? Well, this actually, I said we've been doing this over the last 6 to 9 months, but actually this kicked off a little bit before that. So back in November 21, something that some of you will be aware of called the City Partnership Board, which brings together large public sector organisations, voluntary sector and private sector organisations in the city, began to commission this work to develop a new city strategy. One of the first things that we did to support that was to commission some work to develop a new economic evidence base for the city, which we now have. So we've got some really strong data, both about kind of traditional economic measures, but also wider aspects of things that contribute to our economic success. But what we've then wanted to do is to take that harder data and combine it with the views and perspectives of as many different people across the city as we possibly can. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about that in a minute. But between March and June of this year, we've gone through what I think has been a very extensive citywide engagement process. Some of you may have had an opportunity to take part in that. If you haven't, don't worry, because there's going to be a full round of public consultation, which I'll say a little bit about in a minute. So that process of gathering all of that information together took place up until the beginning of the summer. We've then used the summer period to begin to draft the set of goals that we're going to publicly consult on, drawing on all of that information that we've pulled together. And now we're in a phase of taking that work that we've done and beginning to kind of iterate it and shape it, ready for the launch of the public consultation. So the approach that we've used has been intended to be very much based, as I've said, in evidence, but also hearing as many different views as we possibly can, and doing that in a very, I suppose, to use the jargon, a collaborative and co-designed way. But that really means just valuing everybody's views in that, and not thinking that as the City Council or as the large organisations that we know best about how to do this and what this needs to look like, but really valuing the different views that different people are having, and making sure that we're taking that through into the delivery of these goals once we've got them drafted as well. So it's not just about going through a process of getting them and then they sort of sit on a shelf and we never do anything with them again. So, as I say, based on strong resident and stakeholder engagement, we've had an online survey, and of course you've got to have an online survey, but we've also commissioned work through the voluntary and community sector for them to go out right across the city and have what we have described as a set of in-depth collaborative conversations with different communities. We've had over 1,600 responses to the survey, which for a topic like this is actually pretty good. I mean, I know you look at the population of Sheffield coming up to 600,000, and you think, well, 1,600 is not that great. But actually, for something like this, we were quite pleased that we got that many. We've had those collaborative conversations. We've had a number of other workshops as well. And in total, that's led to over 4,000 different contributions to this process. So a really rich source of data. And then, as I've said, we have used that information to begin to draft the goal based on all of that analysis and engagement. We've had over 70 people drawn from across the city involved in the drafting process over the city, from different communities right around the city and different sectors. We have, in the last few weeks, got that to an early draft of those goals, and we've been testing that out via an online platform, and again talking to different groups. We've talked to the Youth Council, we've talked to different people across the city. We've now in the second draft of the city goals. The third draft is the one that you will begin to see as we move into public engagement and consultation at the end of this month. So, last few minutes from me, and then I'll pause and open it up for any questions. But this is the last phase of that kind of looping round. We'll then go out to public conversation at the end of October, finalise the goals in November, and the idea is that all of the organisations in the city will take those through their own decision-making processes between December and January, so that we've got that wide-ranging endorsement of these goals for the next 10, 15, 20 years, as I said. And then organisations can begin to think about what are the things that they can do to contribute to the delivery of those goals. So, how can you get involved? Well, there will be a public conversation survey, which is due, as I said, to start at the end of this month, and that will be the main opportunity for you to let us know what you think about the goals. They're not set in stone, so if people have got views about them, there are things that you really like, things that you don't like, then that's your opportunity to let us know, and we will obviously respond and reflect on that feedback that you give us. The details of the survey will be circulated through the local area committees, so if you're on the mailing list for local area committees, we'll make sure you get the details that way. But there's also a website, which is sheffieldcitygoals.co.uk, and it will be on there as well. Final slide is just some questions for you to think about. You don't have to be bound by these at all. You might have other things you want to ask, but be interested in views about what you've heard, what this could mean for you within this community, within the south of the city, anything that you might hope to see in those goals, and if there are anything else above and beyond what I've described in terms of how you might want to get involved in that public conversation as well. And final point for me is that what I've got sitting on the desk here is a set of evidence that we've collated. So you can see just from the kind of the thickness of that, and these are the sort of summary of the things that we've heard and the things that we've collated that are then going into this process of drafting them. So I'll just finish on that note. Thank you, Chair.
There is a common problem with the collection of opinion on an exercise like this, that it very frequently, unless you're not careful enough, it doesn't gather the opinion of marginalised communities, particularly the poor, who don't have very often the same access to internet, the elderly, for the same reason, largely as well. So when I hear you saying about all this, it looks very comprehensive in its way, but the thought does pass through my mind that the city contains a great deal more people from groups that we might not normally get in contact with.
Thank you. I completely agree with what you're saying there. And we have been very, very conscious of that through this process. And that's why we have undertaken that process that I described of actually asking the voluntary and community sector, who very often have much better links into a wider range of different communities than we might have in the City Council, to go and have some of those conversations with the groups that they're working with, so that we are hearing a broader and deeper set of voices than we might do if we just put a survey out and ask people to fill it in for all the reasons that you say. So we won't have heard everybody, I'm absolutely sure about that, but I think through this process we stand a much better chance of having a wider range of perspectives and views than we would normally do, and making sure that we're hearing the voices of communities that might find it harder to engage with some of the more traditional processes. So I'm hopeful that we're on the right track. We won't have got it perfect though.
It's just a comment on what you were saying about marginalised communities. So, as well as coming to the youth cabinet, we also went to individual youth clubs. So we went to one youth club in each area. Now the south doesn't have one necessarily, but I went to Newfield Green, which kind of borders on it, and you get a lot of young people from Gleadless Valley there. So we had a really good representation in terms of like gender, in terms of age for young people, in terms of religion, ethnicity. So I'm hoping that what we did there was duplicated in other areas, because I would have probably had a similar concern to you, but they've done an amazing approach. It's fantastic. And you should give Jen a raise, because she's been great.
I knew Jen was great, but it's really good to hear it. Thank you. I will pass that on.
All right, thank you. I was involved in designing the survey and running some of the workshops. I suppose I was a little bit, the presentation, James, I was surprised that a lot of the focus seemed to be on kind of organisational delivery, whereas my experience was what people were really talking about was citizen action. And one of the things that people stressed in every session I was involved in was the importance of small neighbourhoods. And a lot of the questions that I've been part of the discussions of were not just about goals as something that are set and then it's the business of organisations to deliver on, but a part of how we as 600,000 citizens take part in making the city a great place. One of the aspects of that would be to create structures which all the international evidence suggests have to be at the level of neighbourhoods and streets if you want to get citizen action, because if it's just at the level of LACs or the council, you'll never see the kind of engagement you want to see. I just didn't hear that kind of narrative in this presentation, I guess.
Thank you. Thanks for the comment. Apologies if that didn't come through, because I would agree that has been a very strong theme of the conversations and discussions that have been had. There are lots of conversations sort of ongoing in parallel about what are the not just the structures, but the approaches and the behaviours and the sort of cultures that we need to develop to enable that sort of citizen action that you described. And it's very, I think you will see, or everybody will see, that will become quite a strong feature of the goals as they emerge. And I would absolutely agree that if these goals are to be successful, they can't just be the preserve of the big anchor institutions, so the council, the police, the NHS. They've got to be properly owned right across the city by individual citizens, by local groups, and at the city level as well. So apologies if that didn't come through, but it's certainly intended to be there.
Hi, I'm a trustee for Healy Trust. I think some of my colleagues have contributed to the process so far. I suppose, first it strikes me that it's you doing this presentation as a senior member of Sheffield City Council, and kind of related to your point, my impression has been that it would be owned more evenly, I suppose, across organisations. So that's just an observation, really. But I was interested in your comments about voluntary community organisations sort of signing up and signing it off through our sort of governance structures. And again, it feels like that's the City Council owns it and us answering to them. You know, you can keep a list of people who've endorsed it or not. It kind of just, the way that comes across perhaps isn't how you're seeing the goals being delivered. That wasn't really a question, I suppose, but yeah.
Probably isn't an answer to it, but it's certainly not intended to be, and we are trying really, really hard not to make it a city council-owned process. To my mind, it fails if it is a city council process. It needs to be something that the whole city can see themselves in and has ownership of, because otherwise it just becomes another top-down approach. Yes, it's me sitting here. Can't get away from that. But I do genuinely believe in the conversation. And we don't want it to become that. And certainly it's not about sort of creating lists of who hasn't endorsed it. It's more of a mechanism to say, yeah, we're all behind this and we're all going to go for it. So that's where that was coming from.
Thank you.